Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for October 2022. So on October 23rd, we have our second event taking place. The first one being Saturn going direct. If you haven't listened to that astro forecast, you should definitely check that out. Hours later, we have Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, entering into Scorpio energy. But before I talk about Venus entering into Scorpio, I need to talk about this very, very interesting astro event taking place prior to Venus moving into Scorpio, which is Venus and the Sun meeting up on the 22nd. And they're meeting up at a 29th degree in Libran energy, which is a critical crisis karmic degree. And this is the first time that Venus and the Sun will be completing what they call their 5-point petal star formation. I'm going to explain that to you for just a second. If we observe Venus's orbit through the cosmos, we will find that over the course of many, many moons, many, many orbits, that Venus actually makes this beautiful flower of life. That's where we get the flower of life from, is Venus. And Venus, of course, is about love and beauty and abundance. And we in Libran energy haven't had this for 250 years. And this is wrapping up a 5-year cycle that it takes in order to complete this flower of life, this last petal, if you will. And anytime that the Sun hits any planet, it initiates a brand new cycle for however long that planet is in transit for. And for Venus, it's approximately 13 months. So this is like a new life, a new chapter, a brand new cycle, a new energy, a new infusion of love, of abundance, of fairness, of justice, of peace, of harmony, all of those beautiful, lovely Libran qualities. Now you might say, okay, that's great, but I don't see any of that taking place here on Earth. And that is true. Why? Because the war has already been won in the ethereal realms. Because we are on the earth plane, we are the lowest density, things are low, we have constructs of time and matter and space, which means that we tend to see the opposite effect of what it is that is being activated. Now, it does take our sweet ass time here on Earth to actually start seeing the manifestation of the energy that is being triggered and activated. But the fact that this is taking place at a 29th degree, and I'm going to go a little bit numerology on you here. 2 + 9 is 11. The 22nd that this is taking place on before Venus enters into Scorpio on the 23rd, the 22nd is a master number, just like the 11th is a master number. October, if we're using the normal calendar, is the 10th month. So we get a 1 from that. 1 + 22 + 2022 equals 11. So we have 2 11s and a 22. Those are master numbers. This is very significant. And I can't explain to you how long it's going to take in order for us to manifest these energies. But what I can tell you is the fact that we haven't had this particular significant energy signature in the cosmos for 250 years is pretty significant, because that would actually be in alignment with what Pluto is going through right now, which is, if we take a look at the US, they're having their Pluto return, which is 248 years. It's the collapse of a civilization and end of an era. It's what we've seen happen in history with the Roman Empire. And the US, as you've been hearing me talk about, was a false facade of what the Roman Empire was. It was a reattempt to bring the same kind of ideologies and power and control from the Roman Empire into the Western world. We see how that's going, by the way. And Pluto being about death and destruction and damage in order to clear out the old, to create a space for the new to be empowered and reborn like the phoenix. there's a lot of parallels there. Venus and, the sun being at this 29th degree in Libran energy is balancing the scales for us karmically. And if we rewind the tapes and go back 250 years and 248 years in Pluto's case, there was a brand new cycle of civilization happening at that time, bringing us fast forward up into this point in time. It should be no surprise to you that we are in ever-changing times right now. We are in the midst of the Great Awakening. We are witnessing humanity's furthest evolution in this experiment. We've never been this far, ever, in this human experiment, ever, okay? And we are getting a lot of, I'm going to say, interdimensional help. And Venus and the sun having this beautiful interaction at the 29th degree, which gives us the double 11s and a 22. They are master building numbers. May I remind you, we are in the year of 2022, which is a number of 6. 6 is about perfecting the systems, the structures in our physical lives. This is a year of perfection, a year of building, a year of restructuring. And yes, one would say, well, geez, I don't see a whole lot being built. I see a lot of things being torn down. Well, you do need to tear things down in order to have the space to rebuild them. We have been and currently are still analyzing what needs to stay, what needs to go, what is weak, what is strong, what is outdated, what is new, where we need to progress, where it is that we need to stay the same. We, again, are still in Libran energy where the scales need to be balanced. And the fact that Venus and the sun are coming together and bringing together that very final last petal in this 5-year flower of life cycle is very profound. And the fact that not only is this taking place with all of these numbers that I just spit off of you, all of these cycles, all of these patterns, we have Saturn, the Lord of Karma, going direct just as this aspect takes off. And then what happens? Both Venus and the sun progress and take steps forward to move into Scorpio energy. What does the Scorpio energy do? Well, we're going to talk about that. The Scorpio energy is the, I'm going to say, deep soul energy that we are all looking to renew. We are all looking to re-spark. We are all looking to resurrect, if you will. So I just want you to understand the progress of the sun and Venus finishing off this final petal, meeting up at this final degree, having these numerological, I'm going to say, alignments set us up for Mr. Saturn, Mr. Karma to go direct, and then for Venus to enter into the watery depths of Scorpio. Okay? So I know that was like an 8-minute rant of something that isn't even in the title of this video. However, now we're going to get into it. Venus moves into Scorpio energy. We'll be here until November 16th. We have to keep in mind that Venus was just in her place of power in Libra. So stepping down off of the throne, not saying that she has to kind of surrender her crown, but she's not at her strongest point in the Scorpio energy. We have to consider that Scorpio energy is ruled over by both Pluto and Mars. Okay, so Mars is the masculine counterpart to Venus's feminine divine energy. So she's out of her comfort zone here. She's in the depths of her emotion. She's in the depths of her soul. Scorpio energy is very deep. We do a lot of shadow work in Scorpio energy. We are very passionate, good, bad, or otherwise, in Scorpio energy. We have the Plutonian energy giving us a little bit of an obsessive streak. We have a little bit of that Mars energy really giving us that tenacious, godlike warrior spirit in order to really identify what it is that we're passionate about, what it is that we desire, and to assert ourselves to go after that. And what we get when Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, moves into this deep, dark, transformative waters of Scorpio is we get to dabble in the darkness. Now, sexual desires are going to be a thing. We are going to be super flirty, as if we weren't flirty. I feel like we almost got gypped with Venus being in Libra this time around, because she is typically very outgoing, very flirty, very kind of glowy, if you will. And I don't feel like we got that opportunity because of all the retrogrades that we were in, because of the timing of, some of those planets coming direct. And then, of course, being in this eclipse season, I feel like the heaviness, the weight of having all of these planets in an earth energy really took away from the high vibration, the flirty energy, the jovial spirit that we usually get with Venus in Libra. I feel like we got gypped. I feel like we got ripped off. So now we're almost like embodying our dark feminine energy. And I don't want you to be afraid of it, because we're looking to dive into the shadow realm of our deepest, darkest fears and our deepest, darkest desires. And this is where we start kind of flirting with danger, flirting with taboo topics and themes. And, I'm going to say, the want, need, and desire of Venus being in her place of power in Libra is for love and balance and peace and harmony, and to connect like intellectually and be on the same page and have, I'm going to say, that intimacy in communication. Well, in Scorpio, we want to merge our souls with other souls. We want that connection. We want that soul to soul connection. And we play that out with our physical bodies. And I will say that you will likely be attracted to the danger, the darkness, the shadow realm, especially in other people. This is going to be a time of extremes. Yes, I know. We just went through the extremes with Venus being in Libra, even though we're supposed to be finding peace and balance and harmony in that Libran energy. We arrived there through the dualistic and polarized extremes of our experience. Now we kind of found that middle ground, and now we want to test it. So things are going to get very intense and very overwhelming. We just crave more to life. We want something that is unforgettable. We want to be craved. We want to be desired. And this is a very, I'm going to say, extremely empowered energy. But on the other extreme, it can provide a lot of damage and destruction if we're not careful. The Scorpio energy is a emotional roller coaster like no other, because we're passionate and we're sensual and we're intense and we want to dabble in the darkness. But then, we all of a sudden don't have the energy to be passionate, and we don't want anybody near us. And, we don't have the focus or the intent to stick with this passion and this desire. We're back and forth. We're hot and cold. We're on, we're off. That's the hard part of the Scorpio energy. May I remind you, water energy can morph into different forms. Water is the only element that can take on a solid. Think of an ice cube. And then when a little bit of heat, a little bit of passion, a little bit of desire is added to that, we melt into water. And even more than that, you intensify the thoughts, you intensify the experience, you add a little bit more heat, and that water evaporates into a gas. And what we know to be true about water elements is that, yes, they're able to take on many, many different forms. And emotionally speaking, that's what we're talking about. We can be cold and rigid, we can be open and floaty, and we can be spacey and not even connected to our physical bodies. But even more than that, water is cleansing. It cleans our spirit, it cleans our soul. Even more than that, water is transformative. I want you to think about this. When you add a little bit of, okay, let's think about the ocean. Okay, you got these waves crashing upon the earth, crashing upon the earth, crashing upon the earth. What happens? Well, eventually the water erodes the land. It changes the actual earth. Now let's think about adding water to a garden, to that earth, to that seed. What does that do? Well, it creates growth. It nourishes something to be born into a new creation. When you add water to a fire, it can put that fire out, and that fire being action, being passion, be desire. Too much emotion, when you add too much emotion to that, you can snuff the whole passion and desire out. When you add water to electricity, what do you get? You get a spark, you can get a jolt, you can be dead if you're not careful, okay? But when you consider the fact that the electrical element is also the air element, which is thoughts and ideas and plans and strategy, what you get is a beautiful creative energy if the elements are balanced. If you're interested in elemental energy at all, I do have a course that you can take on my website that goes into depth about your own elemental energy profile, what that means for you in your life, for your manifesting abilities, for your relationships. Go ahead, check that out if you're interested. But understanding the elemental energy exchange and how they interact with other elements is the foundational key of where you should start if you're interested in astrology. Anyways, I digress. What I'm trying to get at here is that this is going to be a very emotional time for us. It is going to do a number on our self-worth, on our self-confidence, on our self-esteem. Why? Because Venus is all about worth and value. And the worth and value that we see in other people and that we create and give birth to in life is merely a reflection of the worth and value that we see within ourselves. It is going to be emotional for relationships. If you are lucky enough to still be in the relationship that you've been in through the retrogrades, through the equinox energy, through Venus's time in Libra, congratulations, you're probably about to reach a whole different level of connection and intimacy in your relationships. On the flip side, if you are still in a relationship, a false relationship that you've outgrown, that you are just desperately holding on to because you're afraid of change, you will see a whole different side of the person that you're with and a whole different side of yourself. This is where intimacy, true soul connections are illuminated, are tested, and will be changed. Keep in mind, we are about to go through eclipse season where the universe is about to sort us out and put us on the path that we are meant to be on, the path that we should have put ourselves on, that our ego got in the way of, and that we will be intensely and passionately pursuing come mid-November, when eclipse season kind of backs off and we get to take stock of all that has happened and the path and the direction that we're currently on. This is a very deep-seated emotional analyzation of ourselves, our relationship with ourselves, the relationships with other people, and connecting the dots between what's going on in our inner realm and how that gets mirrored back to us through the people that we are attracted to, that we share time with, that we're looking to merge our souls with as well. Now, there's been a lot of talk, especially with the Libra season. It usually comes with the equinox energies. Also, we just had Venus and Mars come together in a beautiful way. They trine together, which means that there was a balance of masculine and feminine energies. There's usually a lot of talk about soul contracts, new soul mates showing up, new karmic relationships showing up. Let me just say, you want to pay attention to the relationships that are A, falling apart, and B, coming together. Well, Venus moves through Scorpio season, even more than that, because we have eclipse season kind of blanketing this particular transit as well. What you have to know is that we will be consumed with emotion, consumed with thoughts, consumed with goals, consumed with other people while we move through the Scorpio energy. There is this want, need, and desire to be consumed by something or someone. There is this want, need, and desire to be so obsessed, again, Plutonian energy, so obsessed with certain topics and themes in our lives that we can't take the blinders off and think about anything else. This is both a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing being that sometimes we need to become obsessed with certain elements and topics and themes in order to ignite the spark within us so that our drive and our passion is constantly propelling us to move forward, to be bold, to be brave, to act in our best interest, to go after what it is that we want. On the flip side, if you are consumed and overwhelmed and obsessed with certain things that are not of your highest interest, you will be very, very broken by the time Venus is prepared to leave the Scorpio energy. We want intensity. We want to feel alive again. And sometimes we walk that very thin line of danger of extremes in order to remind ourselves that, yep, we're still alive. Sometimes you need to dabble in the darkness in order to remind yourself that there is light. Sometimes you need to live in the extremes in order to find your way back to a stable middle common ground. So what I will say is we got an opportunity here to flex our, I'm going to say, energetic muscles. Why? Well, because we have the awareness coming into this energy that we are going to either seek out or lean towards or actively pursue something that is making us feel overwhelmed with passion and intensity. So knowing that, we have to make sure that we're checking in with ourselves and saying, A, hey, higher self, is this actually in my best interest, or is this my ego playing out wounds from my broken self? B, we have to understand that we're very sensitive in water energies, which means that we can easily absorb and take on other people's energies. So it's important for you to constantly be asking yourself, especially when you're all riled up emotionally, is this mine to own? Is this mine to feel? We have boundaries that we need to be flexing in our energetic realm. And this would be an opportune time to get very real with what is yours to experience, what is yours to feel, and what belongs to other people. Keep in mind, we're going to be very dramatic over the next couple of weeks. We're going to be very obsessive over the next couple of weeks. And we really should implement boundaries in order for us to not go overboard. Now, let me just say, Scorpio energy tends to deal with the darkness, with the shadow realm, with things that aren't as easily accepted and talked about in the greater, grander collective. Things like death, things like drugs, things like sex, things like all the horrible things that we are being illuminated to on the greater, grander collective right now with sex trafficking and what's going on with our children and the very perverse narratives and timelines that are being pushed on us by the greater, grander, I'm going to say, evildoers, right? Where there are topics and themes that many people do not want to bring up, do not want to talk about because it makes them uncomfortable. That's the waters that we're about to dive into. So that is going to be very appealing. There is a reason why Scorpio season begins before Halloween or Samhain. Why is that? Because it is a spiritual, soul level vibration and frequency. Halloween and Samhain is about communicating with our ancestors, with spirits, with the dead, if you will. It should not be a negative thing. It is not considered anything bad, okay? If you have that understanding, I'm sorry, but you've been conditioned under an illusion. You need to understand that our ancestors gives us a lot of strength, a lot of power, a lot of ability to navigate the here and now. If we didn't get so freaking far away from how our ancestors lived, we wouldn't be in the cluster F of the situation that humanity is currently in right now. So there's no question why Scorpio season really kind of hugs Halloween and Samhain. There's a reason for that. It's because we are very intuitive. We can connect with other realms and other dimensions in order to gain insight and profound revelations on why it is that we are the way that we are and where it is that we desire to go. A lot of this is around a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear around death and, topics that I just named off. And there's a lot of rawness and vulnerability that comes in Scorpio season. That's why people just cringe when Scorpio season comes up. But what I will say to you is that people need to realize that in order to stand in your very, very truest power, you have to sit in your weakness. In order to stand in your truest light, you have to sit in the darkness. Your strength, your perseverance, your resiliency, everything that makes you a whole unbeatable entity comes from the pain and the trauma and the fears and the doubts and the insecurities that many people spend their whole lives running from. So, yep, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. Yep, there's going to be a lot of emotional upset. Yep, there's going to be a lot of want, need, and desire to be totally immersed with the people and the environment around you. And then the very next day, an automatic withdrawal and just want to be by yourself. It goes from one extreme to the next. It's an all or nothing type of energy. It is very relationship, I'm going to say focused, but it is the relationships that are deeper than just this shallow, egoic, materialistic, physical realm. We want the relationships of our soul, of our spirit, of our ancestors, the greater, grander plan of what's going on here, soul contracts, spiritual life lessons. We want to dive into the realm that most of us spend a lot of time avoiding. So, does it sound like fun? Well, it may not be at times, but what I will say is that Scorpio season is meant to transform. And as we discussed through Libra season and all of the personal planets in Libra season, it was weighing the scales on what needs to stay, what needs to go, what isn't working, what is working. Then we get into Scorpio season and we make the change. We make the transformation. Now, many of us won't feel like we're making it because we feel like certain circumstances are being pushed upon us in order to make those changes and transformations. But again, everything is happening for you. Nothing is happening to you. It's all about perspective. And I invite you to dive deep into the depths of your emotional and spiritual waters and see what it is that you can unearth. See what it is that you've been running from. See where it is that you've been blocking your own power. Unearth it. Swim those dirty parts all the way to the surface of the water and let the light shine down. Integrate it. Allow it to become a part of you instead of running away from it. Stand in your power and return yourself, transform yourself, resurrect yourself, renew yourself into a brand new version of wholeness.